What's up, everyone? We're back with some more of the First Descendant. Now, I know there's some of you guys that are still on the fence on whether or not you should return or jump back into this game. And I feel like there are 5 features in particular that stuck out to me that definitely make it worthwhile getting back into the game, especially if you've been out of the loop for quite some time. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. And I want to start off first. Number one, this is probably one of the first things I would tell most people to get as soon as you get back on the game, is going to be the fellow companion or the dog companion, Hagios sheepdog. This is something that I absolutely feel like makes the grind so much easier. Now, what's really cool about this Hagios sheepdog is that the sheepdog is able to auto dismantle items for you. Not only is it able to auto dismantle, but it is also able to pick up items. So this was something that actually came, if I'm not mistaken, I think in one of the patches a little bit beforehand in comparison to obviously where we're currently at in the current patch, but this is still fairly new in the game, and this is still something that I would say a lot of players are going to absolutely enjoy. It is a little bit of a grind to get it, but once you get it, it's going to make your grind process that much easier. And not only are you able to auto dismantle, but you can actually like specifically target what you dismantle. So it makes it a lot easier for you to actually ISO farm the specific things that you're looking for. So it really does alleviate a lot of that stress of having to cipher throughout your bag, because you know if there's something in your bag, it is going to be within the parameters of what you set for what your dog is able to do. Now, keep in mind too that the dog does dismantle in a 2-minute interval, so it won't dismantle like every single time you pick up something, but the more that you invest and level this pet up, the more that it will be more efficient at being able to do things like increasing your module drop rate, being able to like say detect items within a much bigger radius, and then of course with the auto dismantle cycle, it will make that slightly quicker. So of course, definitely for me, this was one of the big functions that a lot of people are going to enjoy first coming back in. Coming in at number 2 is going to be the adaptation or the implementation of event shops. Now, the event shops in its own right has a slew of different things that you're able to take advantage of, but I think that this is one of the biggest things that a lot of players were coming across as a potential thing that didn't really allow them to really be able to play the game. They were spending more time farming to be able to build the things in order to actually play the game, and that was giving them very limited time to be able to do so. So with that, we have things like, for example, currently in this recording of this video, if you're watching this later, just know that this is the New Year's shop, and there probably will be a different shop accessible, but with this shop, for example, this shop is actually absolutely amazing to take advantage of while you still have the opportunity. For example, you have like the ultimate weapon Scylla here, and what this is going to essentially allow you to get is 2 full copies of a built-up weapon. And this is something that is going to be essential for those that are jumping back into the game or that are starting off fresh. It's going to make it much easier for you to just kind of get your guns going, and just really getting into actually playing the game. Some of the other things that they actually gave us in these shops that I feel like really have alleviated some of the grind have been things like energy activators. You have things like the crystallization catalyst. These are all of the things that I felt like a lot of players felt like, you know, they would spend the time grinding that, and then they would have to play the wait game in order for them to be able to get those. Now, keep in mind, you will still obviously be able to craft these, and you will be doing some waiting, obviously. But they give these so often in so much of an abundance that you really don't do this nearly as much as you used to. And I think that that's also something that kind of alleviates the pressure of people feeling like they need to be purchasing the coins or the premium currency in the game so that they can actually speed up their timers. So again, not only are you getting these, but dimension analyzers, which is really important for you to have. And this is for your reactors. Same thing with the fine adjustment control axes, the precise ion accelerators. These are all things that are going to make your process so much better. And of course, with that, you also then have these advanced shape stabilizers, which you can see I bought every last one of these. These actually will give you, you know, essentially increased rates on different amorphuses, which for typically the lower rated drops will then be increased by utilizing these, and it just makes it much easier for you to be able to target and even get the things that are going to make you know, your essential builds and account progression just that much smoother. Now, the other thing I think that's also really nice too is that you are going to be able to have a ton of access to like 30% boosters, so gold boost, Kuiper boost, Descendant EXP boost, weapon efficiency boost. And then of course, if you don't have anything else to get, you can always dump it into either gold or Kuiper, whatever. But these event shops are huge because they really do give you a ton of different resources. And that, of course, like when we're even looking at like another one of the shops, this is one that you can actually come in and get a like ultimate descendant, like ultimate bunny, for example, especially if like you're new, you're starting the game out. This is huge, right? But of course, for those that are still trying to flesh out their accounts, these are other alternatives or other ways for you to be able to get these characters, and just kind of get them going, which is really cool. And then the last shop here is going to give you some access to some of those the modules for the Transcendences, which is going to be huge, right? So not only that, you will see that there will be some specific blueprints in here, and this I think will reset after the full season is over. So these shops will be, you know, changing and alternating in and out different things, but you do get a good chunk of time to be able to claim these, right? So I just wanted to kind of show you guys, especially if you've been missing out. Like I know for myself, just jumping back in, it was a lot of things that I had to go back and try to like look at and try to, you know, see what was new and what was fresh. These are huge things that you definitely want to make sure you're taking a look at as soon as you possibly can. Coming in at number 3, I think that this actually might be one of my favorite features that they've added into the game, and it's basically a target reward system that sets a hard pity for items that you are trying to get. And this is super efficient, especially for those of you guys that don't have a ton of time. I feel like before, like in preseason, even in season 1, we're talking about it could take you days, even taking casuals weeks to be able to get certain things, and this makes that process much easier. So what exactly is the target reward list? The target reward list actually allows you to be able to isolate a specific item, and every single time you do a dungeon run where that item does drop, it will essentially increase this green bar here, which is what we would call your pity. And at 100%, it will guarantee that it will give you that item, right? Now, how exactly can you set this and what are the stipulations behind this? I'll explain that real quick. So the way that you're able to set this, so let's say we look at a descendant, another descendant real quick. And let's say we want to do, let's say Freyna, right? Now this is just kind of to give you a rough idea, but if we click on the item here and go to acquisition info, and then we go to where it is located or where the item drops, we can hit RT or G if you're on mouse or keyboard or controller. And then when you do that, it will say that the target reward has been registered. Now, once the target reward is registered, let's actually go back. You'll see here that now Freyna enhanced cells are here, and it will be at 0%. Now, one of the stipulations that you have to keep in mind is that you cannot register any 2 items, or I would say any 2 resources from the exact same place. So only 1 resource per individual place at one time, right? So you can't do all 4 things at once, which is fair, right? It still is a game that you need to grind, but it does kind of cancel out one of the factors or that percentage that you would normally be trying to target an item, and you just are able to guarantee, say, an item that you're having a hard time getting to specifically drop, you're able to basically guarantee it after X amount of runs. And so this really makes it much easier for you to actually get into playing the game versus just simply spending all day trying to get that one piece, or even days trying to get that one resource to drop. So I gotta say, like, out of the 3 we've mentioned so far, this is definitely one of the biggest ones, especially if you're casual or more of the average player. Now, number 4 is huge because we have to talk about the places that you can grind resource drops and how that can equate also to your EXP gain. Now, as far as the drops themselves, there have been some significant changes to drops to basically, like I mentioned before, make it make more sense for what you're trying to aim for and just the overall generalized progression. So a lot of the things that you would have to go to individual places to farm for, say like the resources for activators or for catalysts, they're going to be dropping a lot more often in those dungeons where you're farming other things, so you don't actually have to go and ISO farm those things. So you're just going to have them in abundance. And of course, like we mentioned before, if you don't have a specific thing, you typically can just go in one of the shops and buy it. So you have things like the 400% multiplier for the operations here, and this is something that is really cool that you're able to take advantage of because it has a ton of drops in here, and this is something that is going to make that resource grind much easier. There are even days where you'll have things that you might be targeting in the amorphosis that you can kind of essentially kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You also still have things like the Kuiper, for example, that you're able to farm, and the Kuiper of course was revamped just a little bit so that you're able to actually get more of the resources that are going to help you progress things like building your reactors, etc., right? And they also have made it much quicker to level, right? So I think that that's another huge component. The Kuiper mine and even like the 400% dungeons, some people will use that and say triple up on the things that they're grinding. So for example, like in the Kuiper mine, it might take you now a run and a quarter of a run for you to say take a character from level 1 to 40 for a catalyst reset. Whereas before it used to be you would have to do 3 to 4 runs in order to take a character all the way to level 40, and that, I mean, could take you anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes per, 1 to level 40 rotation, whereas now you can do it in a matter of minutes. And so it's a huge difference. Even going back to the 400%, if you want to farm that, that's super quick. It's like 4 or 5 minute runs, and you'll easily within a couple of runs be able to go through leveling your character all the way up to 40. And because the runs are so fast, it's not even nearly taking nearly as much time, and you're getting a ton of extra resource drops. So I felt like this was definitely a big part of what has made a lot of the game just feel easier to grind, is that they actually have made it to where a lot of the resource drops are just much easier. So yeah, number 4 I think is pretty huge. And number 5 I feel like is definitely one of the most important things, because if you're doing all of this grinding and it doesn't really amount to anything when you're starting to, like, say, build your units or using your units, then what's the entire point? And I feel like the team has done a extremely good job with making the Descendants currently in the game, the ones that are coming in new in the game, they feel like they have overall a ton more value. And what I mean by that is that characters now that maybe weren't so good at being able to boss also now have more cohesive bossing builds. Or if they weren't so good at mobbing, they have a much better mobbing build. Now, this is all due to a lot of the things that are effectively in effect, where they are allowing you to, say, for example, power up units more. There's new modules, and we just recently in this current patch just got an update where we are now able to take our weapons a step further and adding more sub values to them. So these are a ton of different things that you'll be able to get into, and we'll talk about these things in future videos. But I really do feel like they have done a really excellent job with even making the units that already exist in the game just feel much better. And of course, as the newer units are coming in, they're just extremely powerful and potent. Now, I have to include this bonus one, especially because season 3 is right around the corner in February, and I could not have this in the video. And I feel like this is going to be huge for those of you guys that are coming back in and you're like, oh man, I want that ultimate, but I already invested in this regular and I don't feel like it's worth. Well, let me tell you something. What we have coming is actually going to be a feature that allows you to be able to have cross investment progression from your base variations of the character or Descendants into your ultimate variations. And this is going to be, again, a very nice function, because this is going to allow those that are coming back in, if you already invested into someone, if you get their ultimate, all the investment in the choices you made with modules, socket slots, and things of that nature will carry over. And then on top of that, if you are one of those individuals that is just on top of the game and you're current and you're staying on top of, like, say, for example, you just picked up Inez, whenever they decide to drop her ultimate form, now you just have to go and farm the ultimate form and all the progression will carry over. And so this is something that I feel like is going to be absolutely massive just in the overall experience of the game. And I feel like the best thing to do is to be as proactive as you possibly can. I'm even upset because I've missed a ton of resources and rewards that I could have gotten a hold of. Like, I think this holiday that just passed, they gave out like 20 catalysts to every single player in the game, and I just completely missed it. So the earlier you are into getting back into the world of the First Descendant, the better it will be. Again, we have about a couple of weeks, a week or something like that. I don't know what the exact time is, but we're right there. And it's going to be extremely important for you to make sure that you're getting your accounts prepped and ready so that you can get all of the perks and take advantage of all of the things that's going to be coming as soon as it drops. So that's going to be basically that with this one, guys. I hope that this video was something that was, one, informative, but you also enjoyed. I missed all of you guys on this channel. I'm actually glad to be back making TFD content. I actually am in the process of moving to a whole different country, which is a whole process. And it is exciting. Again, it is going to allow me to have much more freedom and just even the amount of time I'll be able to actually put into making content for you guys. So it's just going to be great. So I hope you find this video worth subscribing for. Definitely make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, let your friends know that there's these great functions if you haven't been around. And even if you are in the community, you have been around, let's let people know, because I think that these are great reasons to come back to TFD. So that's going to be that with this one, guys. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.